Marvel's Midnight Suns isn't XCOM with superheroes. While they share a similar level of balance and polish, the systems work very differently. Grid-based sprawls strewn with cover points are exchanged for fenced-off areas, in which a trio of heroes go toe-to-toe with mobs of Hydra troops and demons. There is no hiding here. All that matters is that you chew through enough of the enemy forces before it's their turn to act. Your aim is thus to be as devastating as possible, which could mean wiping out whole rows with an energy blast or using Ghost Rider's car to run over anyone in your way. The results can be quite spectacular thanks to keenly observed animations, explosive effects, and all too breakable scenery. Limitations on your destruction are imposed by a card-based system that takes cues from Slay the Spire and other deck-building games. Each character can equip 8 ability cards, which are shuffled together and dealt 6 at a time at the beginning of a round. You can only play 3 cards in a turn, and there are effectively 2 kinds: regular attacks and skills, which will increase your heroism meter, and then powerful heroic cards that deplete your heroism meter to play them. So, in order to pull out the big guns, you first need to deploy lighter strikes and buffs. If you're coming to Marvel's Midnight Suns after XCOM, this may sound quite restrictive, but you'll discover there's plenty of tactical scope. For example, the angle of approach can be critical, especially when using knockback moves that send enemies flying away from you. You can also cause damage by chucking or kicking bits of scenery at your opponents, which does cost hero points but doesn't use a card. Finally, when plotting an assault, you have to think about where your character will finish their move, and if it's an advantageous position for the next. Also, each hero encourages different playstyles in accordance with their powers. Magic's ability to create portals, for instance, is perfect for shifting enemies around the environment, while Spider-Man can bind them with webs or perform bouncing kicks off multiple Hydra heads in quick succession. Other heroes become more effective as the battle wears on, such as Captain Marvel, who can go binary once she's played a few cards, increasing her strength considerably. Each particular combination of heroes asks you to think a little differently, and it's great. After missions, you return to the Sun's home, the Abbey, where you're drawn into the latest plot developments thanks to strained relationships between Marvel factions forced to pool their resources together to fight Lilith. In particular, the tech-based methods championed by Tony Stark, who is as arrogant as ever, and the Avengers clash against the mystic powers of the Suns, conjuring up a cauldron of resentment. In the Abbey, you control the protagonist, the Hunter, an original creation for Marvel's Midnight Suns, whose gender and appearance are yours to decide. You're a largely independent force within the group, so you'll be building friendship bonds with them from scratch, while also mediating their disagreements. It's a testament to the character design that the Hunter feels like a significant presence amongst such familiar faces, and since they bring no baggage from previous Marvel stories, you can relate to them as you see fit through frequent dialogue choices. So with that, life in the Abbey becomes something of a cross between XCOM 2 and Fire Emblem Three Houses. The XCOM bit comes from managing resources and mission rewards, which include new cards as well as materials that can open up research projects, build new training equipment, produce intel for solo excursions, or upgrade your abilities. As for the Fire Emblem bit, you boost personal friendship ratings by hanging out with individual heroes in the evening, sympathizing with them in conversations, offering gifts, or paying them compliments. In truth, some of the socializing is tonally odd, as if all the heroes are back in high school, with Blade coyly admitting he fancies Captain Marvel, or Nico asking you to help organize Magic's birthday party, but it actually turns out to be quite charming and amusing. One annoyance in the Abbey is preparations for battle each morning involve a whole checklist of chores if you want to get the most from your party. But instead of actioning everything through XCOM-like menus, you have to do a routine tour of the Abbey. It feels like getting ready to leave for work. Got my keys, yep. Got my phone, yep. Oh wait, I forgot to pet the hunter's dog on my way out. Better go back in. It's also a shame that the missions themselves aren't a little beefier, with a wider range of enemies and objectives that demand more substantial tactical shifts. For a large chunk of the game, you'll basically be knocking countless Hydra goons around more often than not, and they only come in so many flavors. The introduction of supervillains such as Venom and Sabretooth does add some bite, but some side missions definitely don't warrant doing. As you progress though, you'll unlock a series of steadily higher difficulty levels, so you can keep nudging up the challenge, and skin of the teeth victories are no less thrilling than they are in XCOM. There's also extra variety in the shape of puzzle-like challenge rooms made for each individual hero once you've raised your friendship level with them sufficiently. Marvel's Midnight Suns gets 4 out of 5 stars for us. Simply put, there is a lot here in Marvel's Midnight Suns. And if you like the sound of a superhero game that encourages you to stop and smell the flowers before they get burnt to a crisp by Iron Man's lasers, you should remain spellbound for the dozens of hours it takes to see Midnight Suns through. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm off for a picnic with Ghost Rider. as you do.
You're welcome, Robo-Man.